What's up, gang? I'm here with a P38. Look at that. And I think Alfred's in the back of my classic. Legend. I want to talk about this beauty. Look at this. Okay, this is quite a nice one. This is quite a late one, 4.6, clear glass, Oslo blue. And come around the back. Come take a look at this. We have an extra badge, which they don't all have. Autobiography. Not very common on the P38s. Harder to find. But there's even more to it with this one. Take a look at this interior. It's got the soft leather squashiness, and there's a bit of a surprise in the back, which I'm going to show you. But yeah, first let me tell you a little bit more about this thing. So from the outside, it's pretty unassuming. I mean, it's got a bit of a lean on there, is it? I think he does need, yeah, he has got a lean on, look at that. Well, that's hardly surprising. They do like to do that. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, from the outside, very unassuming, very understated, classic Range Rover. And I put emphasis on the word classic because these P38s are very much classics now, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. So I actually went with my friend to buy this vehicle a few years ago. He found it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay, something like that. He showed it to me because he knows that I have a passion for old rubbish Land Rovers. And I said, yeah, that looks pretty good. It was pretty cheap. It's an autobiography, but it was sat looking very, very sorry for itself outside somebody's house. It was actually my birthday. George, my friend, he said, can we go and have a look at this? Come with me, come and have a look. So, you know, you can help me look for common problems and all those sorts of things. So we went up the road. It wasn't far from where we live. And we arrived at this vehicle and it was looking pretty shoddy. I mean, it had not moved for an extremely long time. The girl that was selling it, it was her father's car, and he had unfortunately passed away. So the car had just been left. So anyway, we went round it and it looked like a very honest car, hadn't been messed around with, and we agreed to buy it. So we hopped in the car, and it was this time of year, so December a few years ago, and it was quite icy and quite cold. And we jump in, I was in the passenger seat and my friend George was driving, and we went about 3 minutes up the road, and suddenly there was this almighty boom, like a bang. And we just looked at each other and we thought, what was that? What was that? And then George looked in the rearview mirror, and the back glass, the top tailgate, this panel here, had just shattered, exploded. Tiny pieces of glass just went everywhere. And we thought, what has happened there? We thought maybe someone threw something at it. I mean, we were on a tiny, like, quiet street. There was nobody around. It was late on a December evening, freezing cold. But what we think it might have been, or must have been, was this back piece of glass must have had some sort of fracture in it or some sort of damage somewhere. And we put the heated element on to obviously demist it. And it must have just, you know, warmed up the glass, expanded it in a funny way or something, and just suddenly, boom, exploded. But it was quite funny. I mean, it was quite frightening. And then we had to drive hours back on the motorway with no rear glass. So there you go. That's how we acquired it, or my friend acquired it. And I will say this, my friend George, he almost didn't buy this car. And we went to look at it, and I was stood there thinking, is he not going to buy this? Like, this has got the makings, you know? It's a great foundation. Yes, it's a bit dirty and unused, and it's going to need going through. But it was a very honest car with incredibly good spec, and I'll talk more about spec in a sec. That wasn't supposed to rhyme. But yeah, George wasn't going to buy it. And I said, mate, I was like, if you're not going to buy it, I'm literally going to buy it because it's a really good car. And then he suddenly thought, well, okay, if Charlie's going to buy it, then I should probably buy it. And now he owns it. He got it for a very good price. He spent a little bit of money on it, getting it up together. And yeah, an appreciating classic. But anyway, let me show you the inside because this is the exciting part. Okay, before we get onto the interior, I've just remembered another story, which is quite a funny one. So I was about to show you through the window and talk you through the interior, and I noticed that I'd left this window down, which is yeah, something I do with P38s, and anyone that owns a P38 or has owned a P38 will also know to do this. If you leave the keys in it, right, you never have the windows up, never ever, okay? because it will inevitably lock itself. I got a call 3 years ago, and my friend, he was on the other end of the line, and he said, Charlie, he said, can you go around my house? My stepdad has started my car to move it, and it's locked itself with the keys in it and all of the windows up. And I was like, oh no. I was like, have you not got a spare key? Anyway, so I had to go around his house. I get there, all of the windows are up, the doors are locked, and it's just ticking over, running away. Just enjoying itself, burning some fuel. So what I had to do, there was only one real solution to this, is I had to smash this back window, this small one. Thought it would be the cheapest to replace. Get my arm in, unlock the door, and turn it off. Anyway, let's talk about this interior, because this is the best bit about this car. Oh yes. Okay, what have we got here then? So we've got a relatively low mileage car for starters. So that means the steering wheel isn't incredibly worn. In actual fact, look at that leather. These go incredibly shiny over the years, but this is quite matte still, and I like that. I know that's quite a small and, you know, detailed thing to get excited about, but it is good, that. So the main difference that you'll see when you compare this to a standard P38, in fact, let me get in and open this sunroof so we get a bit more light through. Blimey, this hasn't been opened in a while. Oh. There we go. Right, back out there. Oh, I think he needs to do his headlining. These seats, very different from the standard P38 seats, and I believe these were called like Oxford leather, Oxford seats or something. But yes, as you can see, much softer. Ruched leather, not a fan of the saggy ruche. My brother, who had many P38s over the years, he used to always want this interior. He used to go on about it and show me pictures of it, and I'd always say, that's bloody horrible. I don't want that in my car. I like the standard P38 patterned seats. I think they look much cleaner. But I will say this, you might be able to see from the contours of the seats, but they are much more comfortable. Softer leather, softer foam. But yeah, they do tend to, I guess, look a little bit older because of the, well, just the design of the leather in the back. Look at the ruching on these ones. Oh yeah. Look at the ruching on these. I think it was 90s Mercedes-Benz that went mental with the ruching. Maybe earlier, 80s, can't remember. But yeah, not a fan of ruched leather really, but I will concede on this car. I think they're great. Oh, you might have spotted them. Look at those. Look at those. What do we have here? Pop goes the table. Oh my goodness. Now, I can't sort of convey how excited these make me. I really, really love these. Walnut tables, right? But they're just such high quality. I mean, these hinges are beautifully made. Absolutely lovely, these are. I really would love a set for my Classic. I believe you can get them for a Classic. I believe that there was an optional extra, but yeah, incredibly, how cool. I mean, look, let me zoom in. Let me get right in on this. But they've even put a little bit of felt there, so that when you flip this open, it lands softly on a piece of felt. Oh, wow. Oh, I never. Really, really fantastic. You can either have your champagne on the back there or a Big Mac. But I just think these are great, and the button pop is not ideal. But yeah, I think they're great, and I would love a set in my Classic. So if anyone knows of any, let me know, and I probably won't be able to afford them. And the other thing about an Autobiography is that you get the wood surround on the gauges, which you can't really see all that well there. Oh, there you go. Get it? Get a gist of it there. So yeah, the main big difference is those wonderful tables and the seats, I guess. They are soft. Let's maybe take this baby for a drive. George actually said, oh, take it through the field, get it all muddy, take it off-road and do all those kinds of things. You know what, George? I ain't gonna do that. I'm not a savage. All right, we are off in the P38. Oh, let's get the armrest down and maybe tilt this chair back a bit. There we go. Get my seating position right. Oh yeah, this is nice. I just had to have a fight with the radio because the radio was stuck on and it was quite loud, and so I needed to not have that. But here we are. I'm quite familiar with P38s, particularly petrol ones. As I say, my dad has had one for a very long time. He's had a few, but one of them, which he's still got, he's had for, well, he's been the longest owner, and it's it's like the old nail, you know. It's actually been incredibly reliable, and it's just like the big workhorse. My brother's had a few. He had one really nice grey one with red carpets, and that was fantastic, but none of them had the same spec as this. But yeah, this is the 4.6 Thor engine, which actually, obviously it's a Rover V8, so it's essentially the same as what's in my Range Rover Classic, but that's a 3.9 and this is a 4.6. But you do notice the difference in the torque, and also the other difference between the Classics, the 3.9s, and these P38s is the lockup on the torque converter is much lower on these ones, on the later P38 models. And they did that because obviously they knew that there was more torque with the engine, but it feels much more grunty and it feels more modern. It feels more, I don't know, it's just nicer, easier to drive. Oh, let me do a left here. Sorry, I took that a bit fast. You're all right, Alf? Sorry about that. He's leaning into the corners in the back. The design. Now, this is probably the main reason, the aesthetics is probably the main reason that P38s got so much stick and people didn't really like them. And Jeremy Clarkson famously compared, or he named it, I think, didn't he? Like the London Metro taxi or something. And they do actually look like the bad London taxi. Like not the classic London taxi where they've got the rounded panels and things like that. No, I'm talking about the awful Metro London taxi. And these P38s do indeed look like that. But anyway, I don't think they look bad now, these P38s, particularly when you get them up together and like this one, nice spec, Autobiography. The interior really does make a difference on this P38. Not saying that a normal P38 is uncomfortable. They are really comfortable and they're nice seats and they're incredibly hard wearing interiors. You can really use these cars as a workhorse, like 100%. You can chuck things in, fold those seats down, fill up the back with firewood or whatever you want to do. You're not going to damage the interior. It's still built like a proper old Land Rover. But these seats, they are comfortable. I am a big fan. I mean, they're really shapely. Yeah, just rolling around the country lanes like this, it's really enjoyable. It's really, really nice. In fact, let me swap the camera angle so you can see me driving for a bit. So, by no means is this a fast beast, but it's nice and I mean, it's very torquey. I mean, that's pretty quick. Quick enough for a big old unit like this. The brakes aren't impressive, but I don't think any car out of this era really had, particularly four-wheel drives, had good brakes. So, handles the road well. It feels, direct. Oh, I'm taking this a bit quick. Let's go foot down here. Listen to the Rover V8 sing away. I mean, that is actually quite quick. That's not slow. That's more than quick enough, I would suggest. Yeah, see that higher torque converter, the torque converter that locks in lower, you can feel it. It drives very different from my Classic in that respect. But yeah, it feels less nimble than my Classic. If that's, I don't know how that really makes much sense or how to articulate more on what I mean there, but it feels a bit more floaty, I guess because it's on air suspension as opposed to springs. But yeah, it's softer than my Classic. It absorbs the bumps better. So I think they did just go down the luxury route a little bit more as opposed to the utilitarian route. Yeah, it just feels like a bit of a tank. That's what it feels like. He's got a rattle on the dash here. Oh, turned his windscreen wipers on. Yeah, it feels solid. It feels really, really solid, and that you would, yeah, on a horrible stormy evening, if you jumped in your P38, you're gonna make it. And I know that these are good off-road. They're incredible off-road and through snow, and anything you throw at it, it's gonna be fantastic. But that's because it's got the badge. It's got the Land Rover and the Range Rover badge. But, oh, just pulled out in front of some cars. Better put my foot down. There we go. Come on, car. There we go. 40, 50. That's just enough. Just enough pump there we gave it. Yeah, go out and find one. Find a nice example. If you can get like a special edition, get one. Keep it nice. Enjoy it. Keep it on the road. Don't worry about rust. Or at least I haven't come across any rust issues on any of the P38s that I've seen. So I think they're relatively low stress. And it is a car that you can hop in and shoot anywhere you like, really. I know that George has done some very long journeys in this, and he's never really had any issues, other than once he called me and said that the whole car's ECU had fried and it won't turn on and anything else. And it turned out he'd just left his lights on and it had drained the battery. So, panic over. So that's my view on the P38. I think it's a wonderful vehicle. I think if you can pick one up that is a relatively special edition or low mileage, or there's something, you know, different about it, and if you can get them with the tables, that's a big, big plus in my view. Yeah, buy one, get one, look after it, get it up together mechanically, keep it polished, keep it clean, and I think that there will be an appreciating Classic. I genuinely do. They already have started. This one, certainly, George is going to be able to sell it for more than he paid for it and what it owes him. But I think they're just nice old things to own. And you can park them outside and they're not going to rot away like other Land Rovers. And you really can use them like a workhorse as well. My dad's one has proved that over the last, I don't know, how long's he owned that? 15 years? I think, maybe longer. So I'm quite enjoying this. I might ask George if he wants to sell it. I know that he would, but I also know that he knows the value of them now, so he'd probably ask me for a lot of money for it, which I'm not happy to give him. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Gives you that Range Rover feel. Sitting up high, lots of glass, great visibility, swooshing around on the road. It's good. I'm going to probably use this for the next week or so. Oh, he's ticked over 110,000 miles there. I'm going to use all of his fuel. I'm going to leave it empty, and then I'm going to give his keys back to him. Anyway, over and out, guys. Oh, there's 4 pheasants there. Quad team. It's a quartet of pheasants. Anyway, I've got to go. Cheerio.